On the peaceful world of Ember, the Alliance of Nations prospers, free of scarcity and injustice, a utopia for all. This could all be destroyed when the Galactic Empire invades. All that stands between the Empire and the Alliance are the brave adventurers of the Exploration Corps, searching the galaxy for allies and technology. Power to defend the Alliance. Power to protect Utopia. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the 5e Frontier. My name's Patrick, and I'll be the GM for the game of Dungeons and Dragons we're all about to play tonight. Joining me for this actual play of D&D, we have firstly Brad.
Hello. Yes, I'll be playing Garrett Wilt tonight.
Wonderful. Simon.
Hi. I'll be playing Rowie Watana. He's the mission expert.
And last but certainly not least, we have Murat.
Hi, I'll be playing Zitai, and I'll also be in the chat as Dismas.
Wonderful. So the game we're playing today is a science fiction hack of D&D 5th edition, written by myself. The story so far is that our brave space adventurers have crash-landed on a planet which seems to be devoid of all civilization. At least it appeared to be. When they landed. They landed on this tropical beach sort of place, fended off the local wildlife, and are now journeying through the forests and the mountains and the plains of the island that they found themselves on to try and make contact with some sort of civilization, or perhaps even other members of the crew of the ship who survived the crash. When we left our adventurers, they had just camped by the edge of an enormous river, and they were planning their next moves. So normally we would have a fourth adventurer with us today. Jord unfortunately can't join us. He's on holiday at the minute, living it up in Cuba. So I will be taking on the mantle of playing his character today. I will be playing Cowardice. I think he perhaps will not be less vocal than usual, but I'm sure he'll get up to his something approximating his usual antics. So without any further ado, shall we? Let's jump straight back into the game. It's early morning. The sun is just rising over the horizon. You can't see it yet because the river that you've camped by runs north-south. You're on the eastern border of the river, so the sun will be rising on the same side as the over the tree line on the same side of the river that you're on. So there's lots of light filtering down through the atmosphere, but you can't see the sun yet. There's not really much shadow though, as you can see the planet that this moon you're on orbits. Is hanging lividly purple in the sky above you. It's swirling clouds racing across its surface. It's kind of a half lit, so it'd be like a half moon almost, but it's a planet much bigger than the moon on Earth. And the purple light that it's casting is doing away with most of the clear shadows. So as you get up and you wake up in this alien environment, whomever was on the last watch doing the rounds. You'd hear perhaps that there's lots of there's quite a bit of noise around you. There's the river firstly, and you can smell the river as well. There's a very pungent smell of mud and algae in this locale. But you can also hear that there's you can hear some insects around as well. Nothing like the large insects you encountered yesterday, which you believe may have laid some parasites in you. Nothing nearly as large as that, but there's still quite a lot of them around. A lot of mosquitoes, you'd note. But as you all get up and you either eat your T-Rex jerky or eat a ration pill, I think it might be time to discuss what your plans are for the day and where you intend to go next.
So, I guess I would turn to Garrick and go, Garrick, I know we've seen the villages and everything, but I think we need to be a little better armed, just in case, as you say, they aren't friendly.
Yes, I think we should at least spend some time. I believe we have a few more of those pieces of T-Rex claw and teeth that we might be able to turn into weapons.
Yeah, I've got them in my pack.
And I also have something perhaps Zetai you could look at as well. I know you have your tools. I don't know if you have the right tools for this one, but maybe you could have a look. It got waterlogged in our crash, and I'll hand him over my my auto bow, my light auto bow that I got.
The Thoraean auto bow. It's a weapon made using the technology that's signature to the planet that Garrick comes from. There's no magic on Garrick's planet, Thorae. It exists within a giant anti-magic field. So the people there, the civilization, has had to move in a different direction than the standard technology that you see in most of the galaxy, based on mana crystals and weave matrices. You know, shooting bolts of magical energy or powering your eye screen, your television with magic. Most of their technology is powered by internal combustion engines fueled by biofuel, ethanol, essentially. So when Garrick hands this crossbow over to Zetai, it looks much like a regular crossbow would. Somewhere between like a modern polymer crossbow and a medieval wooden one. Somewhere it's like the design philosophy somewhere between that. But near the it has a very bulky stock, and that houses an internal combustion engine, which is set up to rapidly draw the string of the bow and fire it up to perhaps 4 or 5 times a second, which is quite impressive for a 200-pound crossbow. This crossbow has a magazine on top of it, so it's able to fire these crossbow bolts at great speed. Not quite able to keep up with the firepower of a blaster rifle, perhaps, but equally it's not stopped by a personal force field, so a little more versatile in that respect. And also, you can make crossbow bolts. You can't make mana crystals in the field.
Yeah. Like Zitai would have, like, whenever he'd had opportunity on the ship up till the unfortunate incident that led to us being planetside, would have given a cursory glance over it because it's interesting technology. So yeah, I guess he has a vague idea of what he's doing with the Thoraean auto bow.
Sure.
The problem is whether or not I have the tools in my bag.
Yeah. So
I'll make that luck roll.
Yeah, when you crashed, a large proportion of Zitai's tools were just scattered across the beach and or in the ocean. Not all of them were found. So every time we use these tools, we're making a luck roll to see whether he has the appropriate tool. So what's our result, Marat?
A 14.
14. Well, that's higher than that's 11 or higher. So you have the right tool this time. So after you like have a brief search through the sad remains of your engineer's tools, you're able to find your small set of micro screwdrivers and files and things. So you have all of the appropriate appropriate equipment to, disassemble, clean, and reassemble the engine. You even have a small bottle of mechanical lubricant, something akin to WD-40, which of course will allow you to solve half of all problems.
And duct tape for the other half. And I'm not looking for that unless I need it. So I'll spend my time working on that. I'm assuming this one now needs a mechanics roll.
Yeah, so you can give me an engineering tools check or a mechanical engineering check. You can have your full proficiency. You do have the proper tools. You're not rolling with advantage, with disadvantage or anything.
Yeah. That's a 16.
16.
So, feeling more friendly for me tonight.
Yeah. So it's a little bit banged up. It's a bit waterlogged. Fortunately, these autobots they're kind of overbuilt. They're very, very sturdy, and they're made with high quality Thorian steel as well. So it's a good piece of kit. This autobo. It'll require a little bit of some of the the pipe work on it will need kind of like bending back into shape a bit. And there's a lot of gunk inside it that would need to be cleaned out. But it's pretty routine stuff. It's just a matter of cleaning it out, replacing the lubricant in it, and then putting it all back together once you're done. At the pace you seem to be working, you reckon it'll probably take you most of the morning if you wanted to do a good job of it. You could, cut corners to make a slapdash job of it if you want. You'd be done within an hour then. But the question is whether you want to risk it seizing up in the middle of a fight.
No, Zitai takes a lot of pride in his work, so he's going to take his time with it. He doesn't want to hand back shoddy workmanship.
Sure. So I guess you find a relatively smooth and relatively clean rock to work on as a workbench. But sitting down, you'd be able to spend most of the morning working on this. Is the rest of the party willing to spend the rest of the morning by the river?
Yeah, I don't see why not. We can use the water as a lubricant kind of thing to kind of whetstone the claws and teeth into kind of shape. If we find a nice stone at least that we can kind of rub it against.
Yeah. Sure. So are you looking for such a stone?
Yes, I will be. I'll be looking along the river, I guess. I'm looking for fishing spots as well, just in case there is kind of food in this river.
Yeah. So I think a survival roll will encompass that. I think given Rowi's background in quite similar environments to this. Rowi's village on the planet Tavali was also next to a river of similar proportions as this. So I imagine you'd know roughly what to look for.
That'd be good. So that is a nat 20.
Nice.
Brilliant first roll.
Yeah, so looking around, you are it seems that there a few of the rocks around here are very rough. A lot of the rocks around here are very rough, you'd notice. About half of them, it seems that there's two main kind of rock that makes up the terrain here. There's this kind of heavy granite sort of material that seems to crack very very straight lines. So there's lots of very smooth rocks. But also there's another kind of rock here. It varies between brown and dark grey. And it's very very rough to the touch. You would recognize it as volcanic pumice. The sort of rock that you find near volcanoes that floats when you throw it into water because it's full of air. But it's also very, very abrasive, which is perfect for what you need at present.
Yeah, definitely. I'm guessing there's no way. Well, I don't think I'd be able to. At least date how old this is. Is this a recent eruption or?
I think that'll be a chemistry check.
Chemistry, aha! I am good at chemistry, so I'll do that now. So that's a +5. That is an +1 for a 6. Wheeling
Yeah,
well.
You're flipping coins today, Simon.
Apparently so. Apparently so.
So looking at the rocks, it's very difficult to tell. Like you think you find sort of like in a particular like within a particular like face of rock that's been exposed. You find like sedimentary lines in it, which is weird for a granite. But then you find like other sedimentary lines in a different rock that completely contradict the first one. So you're not really sure what's going on around here. It's all a bit confusing. You probably like you think you probably want to come back with maybe like a team of exogeologists, and some specialized equipment to really like get some core samples and stuff like that.
Do some proper investigation, not just like looking at lines.
With you're looking for food, you don't note that there's any like there's no like low hanging fruit, as it were, in either the figurative or literal senses. Nothing you recognize as food anyway. But you do note, like out of the corner of your eye, occasionally movement in the water. Like there are fish here. It's just a case of getting them. So
Right.
there is food to be had there. You just need to figure out a way of getting it.
That's no problem. Right. How to get little drummer boy swimming.
Yes, little drummer boy, the injured monkey that you rescued 2 days ago. He's kind of like sitting off to one side of the camp. He's staring at Cowardice as Cowardice moves up and down the riverbank. You're not sure what Cowardice is doing, but he's clearly like he's very focused on it, whatever it is.
Right.
He's taken his boots off and he's kind of like waded in a little way and is moving up the riverbank. He seems to be being careful not to go out of sight, but he's clearly like searching for something.
No problem. Right, well, with that information kind of thing, and obviously some of these abrasive stones, I'll come back to the camp and give some to Garrick and kind of use some myself and go, I found some stones that like we can easily kind of shape the claws and make them sharp.
It's a good find. Seems like we have a while. Let's see what we can do with them.
Yeah, that would be great. And there is definitely some fish type things in the water. I don't know if they're edible. I haven't seen one clearly. I don't know. We haven't got a fishing rod. I can get a branch, but the big thing we haven't got is a line and a hook.
Perhaps we could probably make a spear or something that could be used in a pinch. Instead of a fishing rod.
Yeah, we could, but I guess you'd keep some rope on the back of it, yeah, and then throw it. But you'd still need a line to it.
Yes. Well, we'll just have to keep a lookout for something we could use in the near future. The river's not going anywhere.
Well, technically true. Not right now, at least. But I was thinking that maybe little drummer boy, because he's round here, he might know how to like get the fish without fishing.
If
this
you
isn't
feel
his
like
territory.
Yeah, if you can communicate that message, and he seems okay with it, it's something you'd try, as long as he wants to, of course.
I'll mention that there's fish in the river. I think I'll be able to communicate that, and see what he does off the back of that. I'm not sure I'll be able to communicate that anything else.
Sure, like little drummer boy, like he's holding his stick. He's holding the stick that Garrett gave him when you first met him. It was originally intended to be a crutch, but he seems to like just carrying it around and hitting tree trunks with it, beating out his what appears to be his name on tree trunks. That specific rhythm he likes to beat out. But he's Like as you use your speech of leaf and beast to communicate this to little drummer boy. He looks kind of confused and curious. Like he kind of looks. He kind of sits on the bank of the river and like stares out across the river. It doesn't seem like he's actively doing anything about it or knows how to do anything about it. Perhaps fish just doesn't make up part of his species diets.
From what we've seen, it has mainly kind of been. Well, we've seen him eat mushrooms, that's for sure. And he hasn't really eaten much of the jerky, I don't think, if I remember correctly.
No, yeah, he's been eating the jerky. If you give it to him, he'll eat it.
Ah,
He has no qualms whatsoever eating meat.
right, okay. I was just trying to figure out then, like, obviously, like, what they eat. I'm guessing, like, by the sight of his teeth, you can tell he eats, like, meat as well then.
Yeah, he's like looking at him like he's clearly omnivorous. Um, if you were to compare something similar from either Ember or from Tavali, you would imagine that his diet, if his species is similar to species you have back home, probably mostly consists of bugs. Um, but he'll happily supplement like bugs and fruit mostly, but he'll happily supplement it with like basically anything he can get his hands on.
Hmm. That's interesting. Like, when we were cooking meat, he wasn't with us, was he?
No, no. When you were originally cooking the meat from the down T-Rex, that was at the crash site originally.
Hmm.
The second T-Rex, which ran away, you imagine, is how he actually got injured. He got knocked out of a tree by its passing, after it had been shot in the face several times by blaster rifles.
Yeah. I think we presumed that it was the other tribe that beat him up. Because there were some bites.
Yes, yeah, that too.
But yeah, I can't think of a way right now that we can get a hook because we haven't got anything metal or anything. So, I guess I'm going to continue like just kind of fashioning a few more weapons.
Okay. So, can you give me an ability check here? I think mechanical engineering is probably the best option here. I will accept survival, but I think you'll be rolling with disadvantage with survival. But I will accept it if that's what you want to go with.
If I'm helping during this time, would that make it not disadvantage if you went with survival?
How would you be helping?
I think I'd just be doing my best to copy. And like I've got training in history, so I could know a bit about this sort of weaponry.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you what, Brad. If you give me a history check as your help action, if you're able to succeed on your history check, then maybe you might be able to recall some element of a technologically primitive culture on Thoray that maybe had to deal with something similar and be able to offer some useful advice.
Okay. That's a 7. So
7. Yeah, you rack your brain, like you know that this sort of this sort of thing has been done by primitive tribes on Thoray. But I guess a lot of your history in your upbringing would have probably being from a noble family would probably have been focused on the affairs of nobility, like military history, that sort of thing. And since coming to Ember, it probably would have been more about galactic history and imperial history. So I guess in terms of like specific primitive technological practices, you come up short this time, unfortunately.
no worries.
Would it be acceptable for me to go down the sleight of hand route?
Sleight of hand.
Yeah, because it's quite a dexterous task to kind of like hone a
Tell you
blade.
what, you can make a dexterity survival check, but I think like sleight of hand, like you're not trying to misdirect the eye of the you're not trying to misdirect the eye of this claw. I will accept dexterity survival check.
Dexterity survival. That's actually better. Okay, I'll do that.
Sure.
That gives me a +8, not a +7, because I'm an expert in survival. That is a 20.
20, very nice.
Not a nat 20 this time, unfortunately.
So you're working with unfamiliar tools in an unfamiliar environment, and you're just not really that familiar with like the material properties of what you're working with. But you've made enough like weapons on the fly in similar environments in the past that you can kind of bodge something together. And between you and Garrick, like you're able to get some good work done over the morning. What would your priority have been? Would it be arrowheads made from the teeth, or would it be like a cutting blade made from the claw, perhaps?
So I think my priority would have been arrows, so I can shoot from kind of stealth and disappear again.
Yeah, sure.
But I know we did mention a cutting sword because of the thick undergrowth, so I don't know if we were making that weird Hawaiian toothed thing that we didn't ever find the name out of.
Yeah, I mean you tell me what you're prioritizing, and then we'll see what you make.
I think I'd be happy with arrowheads here. Next course of action is heading towards the village, and we're in open plains at the moment. I think if we head back into the forest, then we could make some time to make the blade. But for now, I think arrowheads might be the best bet.
Okay, Garrick. That's good with me. I do have some T-Rex feathers, like, in my bag too, to make the flights.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll work on that. See how many we can make.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think between you, like, I don't think I'm good. I don't think it'd be right to put a number on how many arrows you make. But you have a significant chunk of arrows, enough to last you like a good number of engagements. It'll be a while before you run out of arrows again.
So you know that tube we had water in, that vine?
Yeah.
Can I use that as a quiver?
So I think you like they're a little bit narrow, perhaps, just to use as a quiver on their own. But like you'd be able to split them into thirds, perhaps. And then stitch those thirds together to make a sort of like wicker barrel kind of thing.
Because I don't want to be going in my backpack every time, obviously, for some more arrows.
Yeah, like you'd be able to put together, a makeshift quiver. I think out of these vines, though, you wouldn't be able to use them like as is.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm happy with that. Because then
Yeah.
I've got the cord kind of thing, plants that I can make a rope out of, rough rope at least.
Yes,
to sling it over my shoulder.
Yeah, those very rough, cordy ferns you found
Yeah.
while trekking through the deep forest.
I can't remember what bow we've got, but I believe it was only... Actually, I think it was a short bow because it wasn't very good thread. So I think that'll be the next job we need to work on as a team to kind of make a better bow. Or make a crossbow using this even better kind of twine, depending on what holds up.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a very good, powerful bow, just with a piece of metal and a branch, technically. It'll just take you a while. So if you wanted to spend a couple of days, say, crafting a good quality bow, like you'd be able to you would be able to make a longbow. Yeah, it'd just take you a while to source you'd need a very, very good branch with like no knots in it, and like it needs to be quite straight. Like you need it kind of be like a 1 in a million kind of branch, but fortunately there are millions of branches around here, so it's possible to find. It would just take a while.
That's no problem. That's a task I guess I'll keep an eye out for then, just as I'm going along.
Yeah, so keeping an eye out for likely branches you could make a bow stave with.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, I think that's really important actually, to make sure that we can have a longer range attack.
Sure. So I guess that the morning passes in relative calm. after about halfway through the morning, on the opposite side of the river, you would kind of you'd hear some sound coming from the opposite side of the river. You can't see the opposite side of the river, of course, because the river is extremely wide, and because the planet you're on is physically quite small, the horizon is quite close. So you can't actually see the other side of the river. But you can hear there's some cracking and thumping noises, as if there was a very large creature moving around on the opposite side of the river, or creatures. But would you guys want to investigate that at all, or would it just be a sort of thing that gets noted and then we continue?
I don't know how we could investigate it, but
You could climb a tree.
I could climb a tree. I've got my
We have
arm
such
back.
a great history with that.
I've got my arm back. I can climb a tree. Not that it disappeared, guys. It was broken. It's now fixed. Calidus remembered he could do magic.
Yeah, Calidus is he's sitting with his, hunched over with his back to all of you. He's working on something by the look of it. He's interposing his body between you guys and it.
How inconsiderate. But yeah, I'm going to climb a tree.
Cool, that's fine. You're not in any time pressure. You can just climb the tree. Heading up to the top, you can the horizon extends as you gain height. And you can see over to the other side of the river. You can see there are there are a number of absolutely stupendous creatures on the other side of the river. They have long necks, which you judge to be up to 90 feet long, perhaps. They're quadrupedal, with enormous round feet, a little bit like an elephant's in structure, perhaps. And these kind of long, snaky, lizardy tails. All in all, these creatures, from if you were to lay it out on the ground from nose to the tip of its tail, it would perhaps be 300 feet long. These creatures. They have they have kind of coarse feathers by the look of it, in kind of this dark browny green color. But you would recognize a herd of are they Stegosauruses, the one with the really long necks?
No, Brontosaurus, I think.
Brontosaurus, my walking with dinosaurs knowledge for a minute. I guess you have to be of a particular age to get the walking with dinosaurs references, but
Oh God, we're old.
yeah. So yeah, you see there's a pack of brontosauruses, a herd of brontosauruses on the far side of the river. They're kind of minding their own business, taking enormous chomps out of the tops of some of these trees.
That's amazing. I'll climb down, kind of thing. I'm guessing I can see no one herding them. They're not tame.
I mean, you don't notice anybody, but you can't get you don't have a really good view. It's very far away. So if there were people over there, there's a chance that you could have just missed them because they're so small and perhaps in the tree line. It's not impossible that there was people there. It's just far away.
I was just thinking these could be the cows to them, big herbivores that they can slaughter for food. But yeah, I'll come down and I'll let Garrick know, and I'll let Zitai know that there's brontosauruses over there. You know, the ones that are giraffe elephants, but bigger.
You have just named 3 animals I have never heard of.
What do you mean you've never heard of them?
I've spent my entire life living on a space station. The only creature I have seen is roaches.
Right. I clear a path, a patch of dirt, so I can draw a crude version of a brontosaurus, and then I'll draw a little stick man next to it and go that.
Okay. Is that to scale?
Yeah, that's what the little man's for.
That's terrifying.
No, that's a brontosaurus.
I think he has you there, Zetai.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
I
just
don't
turn my
put it
back
a
and
threat.
go back to my work.
I didn't see anyone with them or anything, so I don't know if they were on their own. Like, the person there was just for reference for Zitai.
I'm sure we'll find out eventually. We're heading to this village. They might know more.
Yes. But let's try not to get stood on. I think that's the only threat really from them.
Well,
Yes.
it's a good job they're on the other side of the river.
Well, elephants can swim. I go, he doesn't know what an elephant is. I'll draw a picture of an elephant to scale.
Sure.
Why are all these creatures so big?
Gravity. But we got big things at our place too.
Okay. Is everything going to be at least as big as you said it was called a T-Rex that we fought on the beach?
Well, no. Like, I only grew this tall.
Just in your peripheral vision, just on the other side of Rowie, like you can see little drummer boy is also sitting on the edge of the river, just kind of picking his nose. He is not that big.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, Zitai's just gonna have a moment, like, trying to get his head around the scale of some of these creatures, because, it's, until he saw a T-Rex, unthinkable, having creatures that big.
Yeah, well, having grown up on cramped, overcrowded space stations, one can see how one might come to that conclusion. So I think the rest of the morning might perhaps pass in a similar vein, with you guys finishing up your various tasks. You have a big bundle of arrows by the end of the morning, and what seems to be a working autobow. As you put it back together, replacing the grease and properly reassembling it nice and clean. It seems to be working. All that's left now is to rev it up.
I'll pass it back to Garrick. It's his weapon. He should have the honours of revving it.
Thank you. Yes, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, so like holding it in strongly in one hand, and grabbing the ripcord in the other hand, much like a chainsaw, you'd be able to pull the ripcord several times, get the engine spinning, and then actually get it kicked into gear so it'll keep spinning under its own power after you put some ethanol in it, of course. I think you probably got enough like ethanol to fill up the fuel tank, but that's probably about it.
Okay.
Yeah, which will give you about 10 minutes of fuel, which is pretty long in terms of how fast fights go. But yeah, as you pull the ripcord, it revs. It's almost deafeningly loud. It's the loudest thing that any of you have heard since a blaster being shot. And it's also like it's very high pitched as well. This engine, it's kind of like if anybody has stood next to a chainsaw when it gets revved up, it's like that, but much higher pitched. as it's idling and not being fired, it kind of just sits down into this just chugging along very loudly, very high pitchedly. You can speak over it, but you'd have to like raise your voice a little to be heard. Like you wouldn't if you were just talking in quiet indoor voices, but you perhaps miss a few words.
I think I'll panic to Garrick, going, "Can you turn it off? Everyone will know where we are. We threw away that data pad for less than this."
Of course. I'll cycle it down.
Yeah. Over a period of a few seconds, the engine stops running. Goes to being quiet again. You'd all note as well. There's quite a pungent smell of alcohol as well, and kind of a plasticky sort of fire smell. After it's turned off, it's quite pungent. Smells a bit like a petrol station, perhaps.
I think we need to move away from here now, as quick as possible.
Well, I suppose now's as good a time as any to start tracking towards the village that we saw from the volcano side.
Yes, I think so too. As quick as we can, I think. I don't want those brontosauruses running over to see what was going on.
Well, they'd have to run real fast. Isn't the river like over a mile wide?
Well, yeah, but we don't know how fast they swim. They could run along the bottom. And
True.
T-Rexes were really quick.
Yeah, I think I should probably only use this if we're sure it won't attract any unwanted attention. So I'll put it away for now.
Or if we have unwanted attention.
Yes.
So I'll literally grab as much as I can quickly, kind of thing, throw it in my bag and get ready to go, helping people get ready to leave as quick as possible.
Yeah. As you finish, Cowardice would turn around and face the group. He'd say, "What do you think?" As he kind of from behind his back, he draws out what appears to be a very elaborate headdress made of reeds and blades of grass he's found by the bank of the river. He kind of slowly puts it onto his head while seemingly maintaining eye contact with all of you somehow.
It's like he never left.
As he puts it onto his head, he says, "Nah, watch this. He kind of backs slowly into the river. He says, I hadn't thought this part. I was going to disappear into the water and just have this poking over, but I'd get very wet.
I'm sure it'll work great.
Do you know
if I have to push you in the river to get it to work, we'll find out later.
Do you know the water breathing spell?
Yes, I do, actually.
Oh. Perfect, then.
With dramatic flair, he takes a reed with a bend in it out from behind his back.
Great. Yeah. I'll tap him on the shoulder. Not physically, just metaphorically, and kind of go.
Pat pat.
Time to go.
Yeah, he nods, shoulders his blaster, and heads out with you guys.
Yeah, I'll give a little whistle over to little drummer boy and just pat my shoulders and turn and start walking.
Yeah, he was a little bit far away from the group. Seems that he didn't like the autobow very much. But yeah, Zitai's not done anything that scares him much yet, so he's happy to get on your back.
I think as we're walking away, I'm just gonna have idle chit chat, trying to communicate more with little drummer boy. Nothing scene worthy, just trying to get him to kind of understand more phrases.
Sure. So yeah, I think that can happen. Are you teaching him phrases in common, or are you just using are you trying to teach him like common phrases, or are you using the speech of Leaf and Beast?
Still using this speech of Leaf and Beast, just trying to kind of understand better the levels I can use it, because I've never really had to use it for a sustained period of time on a single creature.
Sure. So yeah, you find that you think you are technically able to get a decent array of messages over to him. Um, it's just he doesn't. While it is possible to get a lot of these concepts over, it seems that he, as an individual, just doesn't have a framework for a lot of the concepts that you're trying to explain. Like he'd know about little bugs and things. He'd know about climbing trees, that sort of thing. But he doesn't know about much else.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Next thing I was going to ask, kind of thing, is where do the people live? Like, if this is the only place, because there could be somewhere closer to his home, because he's obviously met people before. But that's quite a significant, complex thing.
yeah, yeah. When you first met him, of course, he was very badly injured, and his first response was not to flee or be frightened of you as humanoids, but he just came up to you and essentially asked you for help, and just trusted you completely, just from the get go, which isn't something animals would do in most of the galaxy. Um, when you ask him where the people are, he thinks for a second and then just points in a direction. It's kind of like it's kind of like back the way you came, but kind of off at an angle. Like from where you are now, he's kind of pointing back towards the volcano you climbed up. Like across it seems he's not pointing at the village you saw. He's pointing a little bit like below that. Um,
That's
but
interesting.
he has pointed in a direction when you ask him that question.
I'll make that note on my rudimentary map. I know it's a crude map kind of thing, just so we can come back to that later. Because if there's more than one tribe here, like I don't think there'll be tribes because they shut us out of the sky. But these people we've seen are in huts, so it could be tribal as well. If they've still got dinosaurs on this planet, it could be kind of like a biosphere where they're kind of just collecting like ancient things. So there could be like prehistoric people living here that they kind of watch over.
Yeah, like a humanoid zoo almost.
Yeah.
Could be. There are such things in the Empire.
That's weird. I didn't think that would be a thing.
Yeah, off like they vary in their target audiences. Some of them are academic, just for purely out of interest. Some are big tourist destinations where the tribes people are kept in quite strict enclosures. Some of them are hunting reservations, but you're not hunting the animals.
That sounds Empire. But yeah, on that thought, I guess I'll just go quiet and kind of make my way as quick as I can, kind of thing, through the tree line. Well, through the open space, I guess, away from the noise we made.
Sure. So, heading back in the direction of the plains, you're able to clear the forest, the boundaries of the forest within an hour or so. It'd be early afternoon by this point. As you head back into the plains, you could make a beeline, go directly for the village. Or if you remember, you encountered while you were in the foothills of this volcano, there was this kind of like rotten, bloody smell that you smelled while you were heading down from there. So that's something you could investigate on the way past if you'd like. Is that something you'd be interested in looking at, or would you just be making a beeline for the village?
Was the rotten, bloody, smelly dinosaur carcass? I thought that's what
No.
that was.
Yeah, as you were coming back down off the volcano and traveling through this very, very craggy, like canyony sort of terrain at the edge of the plains, as it crosses into being mountains. You guys smelled this quite strong rotting flesh smell. You decided that you were very much going to steer clear of it at the time because everybody was extremely thirsty, having not had a drink in about a day. So you wanted to just make a beeline for the water as quickly as possible at that point. So you didn't investigate it, but
Right.
you could do that on the way if you want, or you could just make a straight beeline for the village, or you could head in the other direction that's still kind of towards the village and make for the tributary of the river that runs through that village that you saw from the top of the mountain. It would be, it's just a different route that you could take if you wanted to. It'd be a bit slower, but you would be next to the river.
I'll point these things out, basically as you described them to Garrick, and basically ask for orders.
Well, we could investigate it now that we're better armed. I think perhaps if it's an animal carcass of some sort, it may have been hunted by this village. It might give us some more information on their sort of technological level before we head
If it
into
was
the
hunted
village.
by the village, why has it been left?
I mean, they could only specifically take certain parts of it and leave the rest. There have been various cases where certain things, like it could be a religious thing, it could be a cultural thing, leave the bits they can't eat.
I guess it could be a graveyard.
That too. I think with it
Excavation is
being,
very common practice.
I think it being close to the village, it could have something to do with them. It might be worth checking out if everybody is willing.
I'm happy to do as ordered, Garrick.
If you want to check it out, I'm game.
Okay. So, take it slow and careful just in case.
I'll nod. I kind of start making the route.
Sure. So you largely retrace your steps for a while, keeping the planet above you in your view, and using the horizontal bands that its clouds draw across it as a way to orient yourself, and the position of the sun, of course. You will be able to navigate your way through over to this towards where these this thing is that you're looking for. As you're traveling, you'd note that the ground beneath you, your feet, is still quite wet. Like it's the soil is moist. It's clearly rained recently, but it's just been like blazing sunlight all the time you've been here. It's quite humid, very very warm at this point. As you're walking across the plains, you'd know like the temperature is getting up to 35, 36, 37 C. As you're now in the middle of the day. So it's really really quite hot. If someone wants to look, in case there aren't any Americans watching, if someone wants to look at that in made up unit, look that up in made up units and put it in chat. But it's like 37, 38 degrees C. So it's really quite warm. Nothing that would cause you any problems necessarily, but you would be keenly aware that your intake of water will be a lot higher in these while you're walking around in these temperatures, and there's literally no shade around.
I thought we were still in the forest.
No, you clear the forest within an hour. Like there's not much forest between the river and the edge of the plains. So once you clear the forest, it's just a case of going to where you want to go. So heading up into the foothills, you would you get to the rough area, and then you'd all catch the smell again. Moving towards it, is there any particular approach you guys are taking to this? If you guys want to narrate how you approach the terrain itself, there's kind of like patches of scraggly, like tough grass around. A lot of shale, like the surfaces are like very shaly, large kind of grey stones. The terrain's very rough as well, with short rises and then falls in the terrain quite often. Like you'd be walking up for 5 minutes, then down for 5 minutes, then up for 5 minutes, that sort of thing. And occasionally there are just like large fissures in the ground, canyons and cliffs as well, going up. Maybe the tallest cliffs that you pass by would be 30, 40 feet, like significant cliffs.
I'll turn to Garrick and go, would you like me to scout ahead? Or do you want to stay as a group?
I think perhaps if we stay as a group just in case, but if you do lead the way, we'll do our best to keep in line and stay stealthy with you.
Okay, I can do that.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, Rory, you can give me a stealth check.
How long is the grass? I know you said there's some thick patches. Is it like very tall grass, or is it kind of Victorian garden short?
Yeah, it's probably about in between. Like the biggest clumps of this grass would maybe come up to your waist, but I should stress, like they're clumps of grass. Each of these clumps seems to be an individual plant by the look of it. Like they're very coarse, very very like tough plants. So it seems to be quite a hostile environment they find themselves in.
Okay, in that case, I think I'd be kind of leading us between these clumps, to get as much kind of, stealthness as possible.
Yeah, as much cover as possible.
That's the word. So that'll be a 24.
24, nice. So, staying, always within sight of the party, but far enough ahead that you'll be able to, with the short line of sight that this terrain permits, that you'll be able to spot anything. You'll be able to encounter things before the party will, and vice versa. You would come on a reasonably large cliff. As you kind of come over a rise, and as you come over this rise, you can see the next rise over is actually it isn't a gentle rise up, it's a cliff.
Right.
Maybe 45, 50 feet tall. It's made of the same granite that you saw at the river. It's very sheer, very smooth. And laying at the bottom of this cliff, by the look of it, you can see are the corpses of maybe 100 to 120, maybe even more, difficult to tell, aurochs by the look of it. Very, very large bison. They are in various stages of desiccation, and it's unclear as to why they might have gone off the cliff. They've clearly all fallen off the cliff. Their cause of death is very obvious. Yeah, there's maybe 200 of them. Could even be up to 200 of them. Depends on how deep the pile is.
Can I find their tracks?
Yeah, I mean, you could go up to the top of the go up to the top of the cliff and see if you can find some tracks. Yeah, you could do that. You need to go around and up to the top of the cliff though. You can't see any tracks directly around you that would indicate a large herd of aurochs came through here.
Right. Okay. I wasn't sure if we were at the top or the bottom of the cliff. You're seeing this.
So you come over a rise. There's a dip in the terrain, and at the bottom of the dip, instead of the next rise, there's this. So you're essentially at the bottom of the cliff. So you could go around it up to the top of it in a few minutes.
I'll look at Garrick and go, do you want to go up or do you want to go down?
I think sticking to the top. If we go down and are attacked in any way, it would be worse for us. Sticking to the top sounds good here.
Okay. Because yeah, it'd been good to see if they all just ran straight and fell in, or they were pushed.
Perhaps
That'd be a lot of pushing.
herded would be the
Yes.
term here, I think. I wouldn't want to spend all the effort pushing each one off individually, of course.
No. That's true. Be there for a while. Okay. I'll lead us up, and I'll do just that.
Yeah. We'll carry the stealth check forwards. As you head around and up to the top of the cliff. I think even without a survival check, you can see that like the ground up here is absolutely churned up. A lot of these creatures came this way. You would also note that like as you're looking towards the cliff, a lot of the ground to your right is also churned up. It seems like not all of the creatures, or not all of the herd went off the cliff, just some of them by the look of it. But the group that left was significantly smaller than the group that arrived here. If you want to get any more information than that, I think it would be you have to spend some time looking, and it would be a survival check.
I'll look at Garrick because the evidence is so obvious to me, kind of thing, that they've just kind of been panicked and kind of ran off the cliff, and then some saw the cliff and turned. I would turn around and go, do you want to investigate it more, or like?
I think perhaps finding out what caused these creatures to panic in such a way would be good here, as it might give us information on what we might be facing if we stay in the plains much longer.
True. I'm just thinking it could be just the T-Rex. It could be the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Well, do your thing and let us know.
Okay. So I guess I'm spending some time checking the tracks out, kind of thing, and seeing if there's any other tracks hidden within.
Yeah, it's quite a large area you're examining, so I think it would like take half an hour to do a thorough investigation, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that.
Sure. Give me a survival check.
No problem. And we wait, and there we go. It's a 20. Not
Nice.
that.
So, as you move around the area and follow the tracks back a bit, there's a few things that you'd note here. There is quite a decent amount of dried blood on several of the slopes leading up to here. So some of these aurochs were injured while they were running, which is important to note. You would also note that there are other smaller quadrupedal creatures that seem to have been running to eat on each side of the stampeding aurochs, and it does seem that they were stampeding by the look of it. They were, smaller but still quite big quadrupedal creatures running up and down. It's beside them. It's not. You can't tell what kind of quadrupedal creatures they are. There's the ground is shale. It's not really. It doesn't take detailed footprints well. But you'd be able to tell that just they're quadrupedal just from the way that divots in the shale are interspersed in some cases. So it seems that there were these other creatures. What you make of that is up to you. I think with a 20, I think you would also find some as you were heading back out of the corner of your eye. You spot a shining flash of metal glinting in the sunlight. As you head off, it's not on where the aurochs were stampeding. It's just off to one side where the other quadrupeds were running. And what you find is a tiny, maybe like a centimeter across, brass washer by the look of it. Just kind of like, sitting between a couple of sitting between a couple of rocks. Maybe it fell off something.
I'll pick the brass washer up. I'll like turn it over in my hand, kind of thing. Like, I don't really know engineering that well, but like it looks similar to something like that would be on the Thorain device in my kind of unexpert eye. So I would head over to Garrick with this and go, Garrick, I found this washer next to the tracks. So it would seem that there's quadrupedal intelligent animals here, or someone riding a quadrupedal animal, and they were using this. But I think this might go on your crossbow thing.
Looks like it's definitely used for some sort of, as part of some other technology. Something like this could be used for, in many sorts of devices, not just an auto bow or an engine. Perhaps if we go with your creatures riding these quadrupeds, it could be used as some sort of hold for their mounts.
Well, that's true.
Some part of a saddle, maybe. But
Yeah.
it at least shows that if they made it, they have some sort of metalwork or metallurgy technology.
That is true. By the look of it, they were herding these into the cliff, into the chasm.
I'm unsure exactly why they wouldn't come back for the bodies. My best guess, at least, is they called the herd for population control.
Do people do that?
Maybe they just, maybe they just couldn't carry them all.
Yes, perhaps. I mean, if they didn't carry them all, they would have taken a few, and we didn't see any evidence of any of them being dragged off or taken with them, did we?
We saw some dried blood.
I should remind you, you've not actually investigated the pile of corpses yet. You've stayed at the top of the cliff.
That is true.
We have seen some dried blood on the banks, on the mounds. That could be dead ones.
Perhaps if we have time, it might be worth investigating the bodies. If we see that up here is safe, it's much safer to check the area below.
Well, I'm not sure how we're going to get down the cliff.
Walk around.
This chasm, can we see how long it is, Pat?
I mean, like the cliff itself, like it's not that long. It's maybe like 180, 200 feet long. The ground here is rough enough that this is essentially just a jut of rock that's poking above the shale. Like it's not really a chasm necessarily. Like when you arrived here, like you were looking at the cliff and then you just like walked around to get up to the top. You could just walk back around and get to the bottom.
Right. Okay.
That does suggest that there's further evidence to suggest that this herd of aurochs was actively aimed at the cliff.
I do have another idea why. It could be a feeding panel for a bigger creature. So the big creature doesn't go for the village, and it would eat out of that.
Yes, that could also be the case.
Which, if that is the case, I wouldn't like to go wading around in the dinner bowl.
Perhaps instead of going down there, why don't we check the path towards the village from here and see if there's any evidence of anything coming or going that way, rather than going down and looking at the bodies themselves.
Right. I think I know what you mean. So see if the quadrupedal things head towards the village.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can track the quadrupedals, at least, and then ascertain where the village is in relation.
Sure. So as you I guess you guys would you like searching around for some tracks for these quadrupedals to see how they left the area then?
Yes, I think
So I
that'd be
think
the.
we'll carry your 20 forwards on your survival. It seems that once the quadrupedal creatures had launched this herd off the cliff, it seems like they went around the cliff and started heading back towards the corpse pile. Like that's what you'd see before they left. They went down to it.
Right, so I won't be able to find out where they left unless we kind of investigate the corpse pile.
Or you could just spend a long time combing the area without going near the corpse pile to see which direction they left in, because if they left, then there must be tracks somewhere leading out. It's just it would take you a very long time unless you went to, unless you just kept following the tracks and try and pick them up somewhere else.
So I'll give this information to Garrick, gulping as I give him the information.
Well, if you don't want to go near the corpse pile, if you pointed the tracks out to me, I could see if I could follow them.
Well, the thing is, the way we find away from the corpse pile where the quadrupedals go, I would have to find the tracks for that direction. Like, it's easy enough to go. We know where they went to the corpses. It's where they went after that. If it needs doing, I don't mind doing it. Like,
I mean, you won't be there alone. I'll happily come with you.
And we're not going to ask you to fish around in the dinner bowl. Just see what walked up to it and what walked away.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right. I'll gulp and start following the tracks, seeing the mighty jaws that I'm going to be eating in.
Yeah. So as you guys head towards this pile of corpses, you don't hear the sound of rampaging creatures. The only sound you hear is flies that have been attracted by the corpses. Nothing as large as yesterday, though.
Good.
I itch my ankle.
Yeah. As you approach the corpse pile, the smell becomes overpowering. These corpses have been here for a good maybe at least a week, maybe a long while. These corpses have been out here, and it's been very warm and it's been very wet around here by the look of it. None of which helps the smell. And also they've been sitting in the sun as well for a number of days, so it's kind of it's a perfect storm of bad smells around here, is what I'll say. But holding your breaths, you're able to.
I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. But you will be able to approach holding your breaths, perhaps breathing through a sleeve. As you follow the tracks, it seems that there's a lot of quadrupedal tracks around here. Maybe carrying your 20 forwards, maybe 40, 50, 60 individuals, a lot of them. It's difficult to tell exactly because their tracks all crisscross and they're walking in all different directions. There is a lot of dried blood around here, a lot of dried blood. Examining the corpse, now that you're a bit closer and you can get a better look at the corpses, it seems that not all of their injuries are fall related. it seems that about half of them have had their throats cut by the look of it. Most of them have at least one broken leg. Most of them have at least 2 broken legs. And the horns of these aurochs. Some of the horns have been sawed off and taken. Those that remain are broken. So it seems that whoever it was that did this just took the good ones and left the broken ones.
Damn it, that's what I was going to do.
Most of the, it seems that the meat here, and the same goes for bones as well. It seems that some of these aurochs are missing large bones. So it seems like all of the prime carving, as it were, has been taken from here. A lot of you can see a lot of the corpses have been skinned partially as well, not fully, but just partially, just the really good bits that have been taken. No care was taken to use all of the creature. It's just there's such abundance that if you just take the good bits, you'll still have more than you can carry, it seems. You're able to pick up a trail pretty easily. It seems that there was some manner of vehicle here, probably by the look of it, it was sliding along the ground, so perhaps some kind of sled that was being pulled. Difficult to say what was pulling it, because the sled itself will have erased the tracks of whatever was pulling it. But it seems that these aurochs were partially butchered here. What was wanted was loaded onto these sleds and then taken away. And they're not heading in the direction of the village. I think they're what you would know is they're heading directly towards the nearest point of the river to here, which is a good deal closer than the village.
That's an interesting one. Because that suggests a boat.
Well, we've seen boats before, I believe, or at least something resembling boats on the sea.
You saw some dots on the horizon that were moving. That could have been boats or could have been debris. They didn't come close enough for you to be able to tell, probably.
Or animals.
Could be, yeah.
At least it's not a dinner bowl.
Yep.
But doesn't mean it won't be a dinner bowl. So I'll start walking towards the path with the sled, just naturally getting away from the dinner bowl.
Sure. So the sled's path is very, very easy to follow. It seems to be have a relatively flat bottom, and it seems to be quite smooth as well. It seems to be almost like bowl shaped, like a very shallow bowl. You estimate that it would be perhaps 10 feet across, maybe. And there's 2 of them, by the look of it. They've got 2 of these of these vehicles. I guess you could call it a vehicle.
I'll be keeping an eye out either side to see if anything else is dropped to kind of understand these people a bit better. Obviously, They have bladed weapons now. We know that. At least they have knives. And make use of leather working and bone working.
Sure. I think that'll be a perception check, just as you're walking, see if you spot anything off to the side.
Okay. Perception. Right, okay. That's a 23.
23. Okay, so with your 23, you would note a couple of things. You'd note that there are quite a few small discarded bones, mostly ribs, that have just been thrown off to the side. It seems that this party was they started eating immediately, which suggests that the meat wasn't cooked when they ate it. Looking at these bones, it seems that the bone hasn't been exposed to a large amount of heat. Like nobody's roasted the rib that was eaten here. They just ate the meat off the rib by the look of it, and then threw the rib away. Which in itself was interesting because, like, a wild animal, if a wild animal, would have cracked the rib open and eaten the marrow, but they didn't by the look of it. So because it would have been a lot of effort, and they had more meat than they could possibly know what to do with, it seems. But yeah, you'd notice that. You'd also notice, I think you'd pick up a piece of cordage, very, very frayed piece of cordage as well. Looking at it, it's made out of some kind of plant fibre, but it's not a plant you've seen yet.
Right, okay. I'll pocket it, because obviously then I can try and identify the plant and work backwards from there. But I'll turn around to Garrick when I realise I'm following this trail and go, is this the way you wanted to go, or did you want to go to the village? I just didn't want to be in the dinner bowl.
I think that's better decided as a group here, rather than just myself. I think following the sled, I believe they're heading towards the river as far as direction can go.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but
I don't think we
Yeah.
can follow them if they get onto the river.
except Rowie, you said the sled's a bowl shaped, right?
Yeah, like smooth.
Yeah, they'll probably just push them straight into the river, drag them upriver to the village. They'll float if they're bowl shaped.
It doesn't seem like they had any problem dragging them like they have. I don't see why they wouldn't just drag them straight to the village. They'd be working against the current, I think, heading towards the village.
They would.
Yeah. Depends how rough the current is. And they've still got the mounts for it.
I think, at least in my opinion here, heading towards the village would be better. If they are friendly, we can ask them, or we'll see the sleds, and that will answer the question, whether they're part of the village or not. And if they're not, we might be able to ask them about these people that have come near their lands.
I would tend to agree. With the amount of food they were taking, that seems like more than a village is worth. Unless they do this few and far between. So I think if we followed them down the river, it might lead to a bigger civilization. But that might not be the safest option for first contact.
Yes. So, if everyone is happy, I think the village is the best bet here.
Sure thing, Hoss.
Okay.
So yeah, you guys take a right, you break from the trail and start heading towards the village. And as you do, I see it's time for our intermission now. So we'll tune out. Take this opportunity, just as we are, to go and grab yourselves a drink and a snack, and we'll be back for part 2 to investigate more, perhaps disturbing discoveries. Once we return at 9:15.
Bro, this is just it's their ploy to get
Good
me
evening,
to go on,
everybody. Welcome back to the 5e
YouTube
Frontier.
Premium, which I've heard is actually really amazing.
I hope everybody's sitting comfortably. I hope we've all got all got our drinks and we're ready to get back into the action. So when we last left up, the adventurers had explored the corpse pile, the food bowl, as Rowie was referring to it, and they decided, rather than following the tracks of these of the hunters that that killed these creatures, they're just going to make a beeline for the village instead. So you you as you head towards the village, you're heading kind of like into the actual plains proper now, rather than into the foothills of the volcano. The ground gets a lot, it's a lot less rough, becomes more soily rather than stony, and the grass gets thicker and healthier looking. It seems like the grass, as you're moving through it, it's kind of yellow, a lot of it, but it's gone. It's green in lots of places, and it seems to be greener like the lower lying the ground is. And as you walk for an hour, like I think actually you would note that you got a good look over the plains yesterday from the to the top of the mountain behind you. And the plains was a lot yellower yesterday than it is today. It seems to be greener today than it was yesterday. Not by a great deal, but enough to be noticeable. Like enough for you to notice that it's greener than it was yesterday.
What a difference a day makes.
Yeah. So what would you guys be doing as you head towards the village? Is it just a matter of just like, walking directly there? Or do you have any particular things you want to be doing? Terrain-wise, it's very flat. There are gentle rises and falls in the terrain, so like you don't have a super long sight line here. But you have much longer sight line than you had in the foothills. And in terms of like larger plants, it's like there are the occasional bushes dotted around here and there, and there are a few like large trees, but they're very few and far between. Yeah. So does anybody have anything they want to do specifically while you're traveling, or are you just gonna crack on?
Yeah, I think like I'll not be stealthy at all in this. Like we're away from the potentially hostile creatures as such, and we're heading to civilization. So Rowy's just going to be like not hiding, really, not trying to make it himself be blended into the background. Just going to be marching forward.
Sure. What about Garrick?
I think I'd just advise that whenever we come across any rises in the plains, we make sure we're on top of them. If we're not being stealthy, we may as well have a better sight line.
Yeah, makes sense.
What about Zitai?
Mostly enjoying being away from the horrible forest from yesterday.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So the four of you and Drummer Boy move across the plains. It gets even warmer later on in the afternoon. After it cools down a little as the sun does its daily eclipse, passes behind the planet. But it starts warming up very much instantly again after that. I think towards the end of the afternoon, maybe like 4 p.m. or so, as you're about halfway to the village, by the pace you're making, it looks. You reckon if you remember the distances right, you should be reaching the village at about nightfall. But you would note coming from like you're on a hilltop to your right, maybe a mile away. Being as you're making sure that you're staying on tops of hills, so you get this longer sight line. You would note that there is a what seems to be a pride of lions on this hilltop, about half a mile away. They're just kind of like just chilling, sitting on this hilltop. There's a tree there that they're taking advantage of the shade by the look of it. But yeah, they're just kind of there. as you walk across the hilltop, are you doing anything with that? Are you interacting with that at all, or?
I'll keep an eye on it and avoid it. I don't think going up and stroking the pretty kitty is going to do anything good.
Fair enough.
I think I'll just keep my oboe out, like, in case they do spot us and decide to try and stealth up on us in any way.
Yeah.
I just want to be ready just in case any other dangerous wildlife decides to jump us.
Yeah, it's not a T-Rex, is it? But it could still do us some damage.
Yeah. So as you walk, after about 5 minutes walking along this hilltop, it seems that they spot you. And like they get up and they split into 3 groups by the look of it. 2 groups go back over the hill, so out of sight. They break line of sight. And the third largest group of the 3, they kind of at a trot head towards you guys, just like making a beeline. They're leading you a little bit, so like they're not walking back directly towards you. Like assuming you stay on the same path, like you'll meet each other. But yeah, they're moving at a brisk pace, a trot, I'd say.
Yeah, let's pick up the pace too, guys. Let's see if we can miss them, or at least get enough commotion from the village that they might be able to come and like make sure we don't have to kill these pretty keys.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're a couple of hours out of the village yet. Would it be a case of like, getting a jog on and trying to cover the ground as quickly as possible?
Yes, I might like that. That's what I would be doing. Hopefully the others follow suit. If they don't, obviously I'll slow down.
Sure. I think an athletics check is called for here then from everybody. See how long you can keep up the fast pace.
Okay.
How
Not my
quick that pace is
strongest.
when you're keeping it up.
I got on that 20 for a 19.
Nice.
Nice.
Is it I?
I got 9
A 9.
because my burns from making sure I don't have maggots.
Ah. Well, that was 4 anyway. It was 4 on both. You can't blame maggots.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. It's
I
not
got a
accurate, but I
16.
can blame them.
I was worried about that because I only had a +1.
So the group of you make a fair pace. Like it seems that for now they're keeping up with you. They're not closing the distance as fast as they were before, but like they'll catch up to you in about an hour and a half. By the look of it, you'll still be a little bit short of the village at current pace. So, like after about half an hour of like a brisk jog, they are keeping up for now. Like whether they'll be able to maintain this pace or not is another thing. Like they can't sweat, you can. So keep it like your biology is better suited to keeping up this pace for a long time. But who knows? They're technically aliens.
They are technically aliens.
On this planet, we're aliens. And the others might be able to keep this pace up, but I'm feeling my burns. With that roll, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like one of the burns, particularly the one on your lower abdomen, like it's causing a couple of like some of your like your abs, your core muscles to every time you take a step and you kind of push yourself forwards, like it's just like a lance in your side every time. So it's not great.
So I guess I would get prepared. Like I'd get my bow out. I'd get the, I don't know what we're calling it, the paralyzing fluid from the spider. I
Yeah,
guess
sure.
Spider venom would be a sensible option to call it.
That is that accurately describes the object.
I'd get that out. ready to use that more than kind of trying to kill this with direct damage if it does get to that.
Yeah,
How
it
many
would be
uses would I have of that?
So it would be quite difficult to apply it while at a brisk jog. Like ideally, you want to spend a minute or so, like stop, apply it, move on.
Well, as
so
part of my poisoner feat, I can apply poison to a weapon as a bonus action.
Yeah, all right. You're just good at this then. You can do it. So there's two things to note here. Like you've got enough to coat maybe like 10 arrows in it, I'll say.
Right.
So if you make a note of that and track that,
Yes.
that'd be great. One thing to note though, you haven't had a chance to treat this venom at all. This is just natural, straight as it came out of the spider. If you apply it to an arrowhead, you're not sure how long it's going to stay wet. If it dries out, you don't know if it'll stay potent. Again, because you've experimented with this toxin before, and you know it is straight out of the animal. You've not had a chance to you've not processed it at all, so.
No, so it's not a standard application, because a standard application lasts for a minute for me.
I mean, it might be a standard application.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? But
that'll be a standard application of a poison that you've sat down, harvested, treated, and turned into something that is a weapon poison, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, you've just like squeezed it directly out of the sack of a spider, right?
It was a weapon poison for the spider.
Yeah, it was. But you're not a spider, and you're not using it in the same way that the spider was.
No.
It might work just fine. All I'm doing is I'm pointing out that you don't know.
No. This is going to be the trial by need.
Yeah. Yeah. The old it better work.
Yeah. Well,
it needs to.
That's the one. At least it'll get an arrow in the in its region. At least if it's not just the poison.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'll be prepared. Like I'll get all that ready as we're running, kind of thing.
Sure.
Guys, if these things are chasing us, I don't want to die running.
Well, let's see if we can perhaps spot the other groups that split off on our next rise. I'd much rather fight one of these groups and all three at the same time. So we might just be able to fight the one in front if we full sprinted.
Or we could start going directly towards them.
Yes.
Stop acting like prey.
Yes, but rather than hitting three groups, heading towards one of them would be best here. I'd like to see where the other two are first.
Is there
If
any
we can, sure.
high ground or trees or anything like that in this plains? I know you said they were sitting under the tree.
Yeah, so there are sparse trees. I think you would note that there is a rise in the terrain off to your left that does have a tree on it, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. But it's not towards the village. Like if you diverted towards it, you'd be spending 10 minutes running. That would not put you 10 minutes closer to the village.
I'll bring this to the attention of Garrick and Zitai and go, we can go over there if that's what you want.
Good a place as any to make a stand.
Let's go.
Okay. I'm running towards the tree.
Sure. So yeah, you guys make an almost 90-degree turn and start jogging up this slope. By the time you get to the top, like all of your lungs would be absolutely burning. You've been jogging for a long while now. Longer than a person of average fitness would probably be able to maintain realistically. You've all had exploration course training, so you're all reasonably fit, at least reasonably fit people. So you've been able to do it, but you wouldn't want to go too much further. The lions behind you, like they don't seem to be in much better shape. They're also obviously very, very tired. Like they're panting, obviously. As they approach. As you get to the top of this rise, and I assume Rao is climbing a tree.
Yeah, I'm going straight up that tree.
Up the tree. You note you're able to give me a perception check. See what you're able to deduce. So
Sure
there's
thing.
a certain amount that you will just find out for looking, but there's levels of detail that I might want to access.
Detail. So perception, that is +7. That is a 26.
26. Very, very nice. So you would spot the other two groups. They looks like they've moved a bit quicker by the look of it. You're not sure how they've been able to keep up with this pace, but they have moved at quite a clip. And they're out in front of you, or at least the direction that they would be in front of you if you'd maintained your course. But like they've gone out ahead of you, and it seems that like by the look of it, like you can see them just entering like some like patches of very long grass and laying down in it.
Right. I'll point it out to Garrick and Zitai and Calidus if he's paying attention, and little drummer boy, and basically go, we could just wait this out by climbing a tree.
But then they could wait us out just by stalking around the tree. We can't just stay in the tree.
Why not?
Well, we'd run out of food and water.
Like, water's the big one. Like, food, like, we've got rations and everything, but we need water.
True.
Are they still approaching us?
Yeah, so now that you've stopped and climbed the tree, the group that was jogging after you, they've slowed down onto a walk, but they're still approaching you.
And the groups lying in the long grass, have they like stopped trying to hide and are coming, or are they still hiding in the long grass?
It doesn't seem that they're aware that you've changed course.
I think if we just make a beeline for the one group and avoid the ambush that they've set up, we might be able to catch them by surprise.
Well, they're coming for us anyway. I think one of the things we've got as an element of surprise is the noise that auto bow makes.
Yes.
What's my range on an arrow, Pat? Is it short bow range?
Yeah, it's a short bow, what you've got.
Okay. I'm just thinking if I can take a pot shot at them from where I am before they kind of... I might just be able to knock them out. Because in the end of the day, we don't really know how this tribe interacts with this pride.
Sure.
What does everyone think?
So, yeah, so from your tree, like, you'd be able to shoot an arrow at them, I think. Reasonably soon. They're starting to get kind of close. And you've got, like, massive elevation, so, like, you know, we'll add to your range a bit.
I don't see the harm in a warning shot.
Okay. I'll hold, aim, and wait, and then
Sure.
fire when I can after applying the poison as a bonus action.
Yeah, you apply the poison to this the venom to this arrow tip, the sharpened T-Rex tooth. You knock the arrow to the bow and sight down it. As you're like necessarily looking closely at these lions, you would note some kind of odd features about them. Firstly, the thing that you'd notice is that they have little knapsacks on, like they've got like these kind of like bandolier sort of things off to like one side, almost like a saddlebag almost. But like they all seem to be wearing something similar. And the other thing to note is on their front legs, they have these kind of like leather straps running up the front portions of their front legs. It looks like it could be some like barding, like there could be like somebody's mounts maybe, or it could be clothes, like maybe they're maybe they're the tribe, who knows. But it's not what you would expect to see looking at a group of lions approaching you. Another thing to note, by the way, which it wouldn't necessarily surprise you, but they're all female.
So I'll like not shoot when I realize this, and like shout down to Garrick and go, they look domesticated.
Hmm. I think perhaps if they are the denizens of the village, we should probably try and talk to them first. But that is also a risk, as if they're not, the one talking could be ripped to shreds.
We can talk from up a tree.
I'm just thinking, how far can you shoot?
I can shoot at, looks at rules, 80 to 320 feet.
Okay, if I perhaps position myself 70 feet away from the tree in front of us, so they'd meet me first. I'll shout something over to them. If they react, then we know they can talk. If not, I will do my best to run back quickly.
Wait. Rowie can talk to animals.
Yes, but he's also the better shot with a bow.
Yeah, but why don't we just let them get close enough? He can yell down from the tree.
That would
Yes.
give away my position. I wouldn't be able to shoot them stealthily.
They already know we're in the tree.
I can become invisible.
Then they won't know where you are if you do that.
Exactly.
Yell at them first. If it doesn't work, go invisible and then shoot them. The two ideas are not entirely mutually exclusive.
Okay, so does that mean you two are climbing the tree?
I'll stay at the base of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm staying at the base of it. Little drone boy can go up with you.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I wait until I think they're in shouting distance.
Sure. Like, they keep walking towards you. They keep approaching. After a few minutes, they get within shouting distance. They're maybe a few hundred feet away. Like, they'd be able to hear a shout from where you are.
So I'll go, hello, fine creatures.
Sure. As you, shout out to them, they kind of stop. They mill about a little bit, kind of look at each other. Then they stop. One of them walks forwards and just kind of looks at you. Its ears are twitching, as are its whiskers. Or her, I should say. Her ears are twitching, as are her whiskers. She's kind of sitting on the ground, just kind of staring at you.
Okay. I'll turn around and go, we are friends.
It paces left and right a little. She sits back down and then stares at you again in much the same fashion.
But very non-aggressively, I'm guessing.
I wouldn't say non-aggressive. I wouldn't say non-aggressively, but they're not she's not clearly not outright hostile to you, but she's not friendly by the look of it.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure whether she understood what you're saying either.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go speak to these things. I don't like this. However, I'm going to get down from my tree and walk towards them as if they're domesticated animals and I'm not going to get eaten. But I'm going to stay. I'm going to guess at how quickly they can move to begin with.
Sure.
And then basically stay that distance away from them.
Give me a biology check.
Biology. So I've got science, but I don't have biology. So
Intelligence then.
I think I'll stay 40 feet behind Rory as well.
I'll be staying fairly close to Rowie.
Thanks for the vote of confidence there. That is a 19.
19. So you be aware they've got they've got a 40-foot movement speed. But you'd be aware lions are sprint predators. So they'll be able to put on a very, very fast burst of speed for a short amount of time. So you imagine that they'll be able to like cross a short distance extremely quickly, much faster than that would suggest.
Okay, so I'll double the distance and I'll stay 80 feet away just in case.
They have 40-foot movement speed in the tabaxi ability to double their movement speed, which refreshes when they stop.
That's fine. That's fine. I can run away. I can't run that fast, but I can run away. So I guess I will like 80 feet kind of thing. I should technically say 85 if I was playing mechanically, but I won't.
You're giving yourself enough time to shoot your bow before they get to you.
Yes. So I'll like walk towards them as if I was walking towards a horse, kind of like, like I own you. I'm going to ride you, and you're not going to complain about it.
Sure. Give me an animal handling check.
Animal handling.
It's one we don't do often in Adventures in Space.
That is a 20. I'm getting the good rolls, guys.
Yeah, so like you softly approach it, like it's okay, I'm not here to hurt you, like that. Very soft but assertive body language. It seems entirely unimpressed by this. As you're moving towards it towards her with this kind of this approaching an animal body language, she stands up and growls at you. Like
Oh.
you see her like lower herself to the ground as well. Her ears go like flat back on her head as you're approaching in this fashion.
So at that, I think I'll go. I did not mean to offend. Like in common.
Sure. Is
Well,
is this
High Imperial, yeah.
speaking, or are you speaking Imperial? Which would be if this lion was going to understand a language, it would be more likely to be Imperial, because that language is ubiquitous across the galaxy and has been for tens of thousands of years.
Yeah, it'll be Imperial.
Sure. The lion seems to like, she backs up a little, like closer to her group, but like isn't fully aggro anymore. Like you note that like she's twitching her ears and her whiskers. It's sort of like if you've ever seen a cat that's seen a bird through a window, and like doing that clicking thing they do with their mouths and with their cheeks. She's doing something that looks a little bit like that, but more deliberate.
Right. I'll continue like walking towards, even though I'm absolutely terrified. Basically, to that 85 feet margin, and go. Look, we're lost. We need help. Do you understand us or not?
The lion turns her back on you and goes back to the group.
Okay. I guess I'll turn round. and go, I will turn my back to these people, these lions, and I'll shout clearly to Garrick and Zitai and go, they're just dumb animals, they don't understand us.
You can talk to animals.
This is to make sure that they can or can't understand us, you fool.
Yeah. Like I think if they do understand you, you don't get a rise out of them.
Okay.
As you watch, as they're having this, as you watch as they're kind of milling about, you notice that one of the lions here isn't actually female. One of them's male. He's quite small, a bit runty, like he has a bit of a limp. His mane has sort of like, it looks like it's only starting to grow in. Seems quite young, very patchy, kind of scraggly. He's got scars on him as well. This young lion looks like he's been quite badly treated. But given the way that lions run their prides, it's not necessarily surprising. In a pride of lions, male lions are either leave the pack, kill the main male in charge of the pack, or are killed by that male once they've gone through essentially puberty, I guess. But there seems that this one's stuck around for whatever reason. You see that as these lions are milling around, this young male lion, with his mouth, he kind of reaches into the pack that he's got at his side, and with his mouth, he pulls out what seems to be a mechanical human hand. It's made of fine brass rods and cordage, and it's kind of it looks sort of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Antikythera mechanism, but it was essentially an ancient brass computer, clockwork computer that the ancient Greeks built. It's got this kind of Leonardo da Vinci, like ancient Greek kind of vibe. This hand, but it's also it looks very like skeletal almost. Like it's very it's sort of it's very, very advanced in a primitive sort of way, I guess. But he kind of puts his paw into the bottom of the hand, and you can see as he extends his claws, this mechanical hand has little receptacles in it that accepts the claws. And using his claws, it seems that he can control the fingers of this hand. He pulls out a stick of what seems to be charcoal and a piece of hide, and starts writing on it.
So much for dumb animals, Rowie.
I'll be like looking at this like with jaw dropped, like going, wow. Like, this is amazing. I wonder what he's saying though. Maybe they're just non-verbal. But yeah, I won't be saying any of that. That's just in my head. I'll just be watching this spectacle unfold in front of me.
Sure. After a few minutes, the young male lion kind of he trots forward. He walks with quite a significant limp, by the look of it. But it seems that he doesn't actually necessarily have a limp. It's just the hand, the paw that has the mechanical hand on it. He can't really put his weight on it because it's got the mechanical hand on it. So he's kind of walking with three legs, carrying the piece of hide in the hand. As he kind of approaches you. You know, are you backing away or?
No, I won't. Seeing that they are intelligent creatures, at least like can communicate to a level, I'll kind of let my guard down slightly, And I think I would approach him too. As if he was another person. Like, I guess not kind of treating him like an animal now.
Sure. So as you approach, he sits in front of you. Like as you get close to him, like he's quite small for one of these lions, but like he's like his body mass is probably about twice yours. He is mechanically large. They all are, in fact. So all of them are significantly bigger than you. Even him, the smallest of the pack, smallest of the pride. But he puts this piece of hide down in front of you. Like he looks at you, like his whiskers do that same twitching, his ears twitch as well. It seems like that now that you've seen them like write and use extremely complex tools like this prosthetic hand, it seems likely that this twitching could be their language, perhaps. They don't have mouths. Their mouths can't form can't form the same complex sounds that humanoid mouths can. So they've just essentially just built a feline sort of sign language, by the look of. The piece of hide has some writing on it. It's in the Imperial script. Like the letter system is the same as High Imperial, but the words and the grammar are quite different. Whatever language he's writing in does seem much like Iberian Common, to be based on Imperial, like most languages in the galaxy are, but it's drifted away quite significantly. Based on the gist of it, you can kind of pick out from like words here and there. He seems to be asking what tribe you're from, or what group or nation. Perhaps it's difficult to translate it.
Okay. I'll look at that, kind of read it, and basically I'll use my speech of leaf and beast. I don't think like they might not be classed as beasts because they're more intelligent than that. But I'll try and kind of express that like we come from the sky, basically.
He just cocks his head and sits back, and then he takes the piece of hide back. He takes a small a small piece of cloth, a textile, which is important. You've not seen textiles from these creatures yet. I mean, they've got hide and leather and things, but this is a piece of textile that he takes, dips it in a water skin that he's carrying, and rubs the charcoal off this piece of hide. Looking at this piece of hide, it's very stiff. It's tanned, and it's been kind of almost polished smooth. It seems that this piece of hide is a tool specifically to write on. This is an object that he has specifically for this purpose, by the look of it. But he writes out another sentence. You think it roughly would translate to I can understand you when you speak. I understand your words.
Okay, I'll apologise. We have not came across people like you before. I did not mean to cause offence. And basically, I'll tell them the whole story of us crashing on and like fighting a T-Rex and etc. etc. I'll offer him some jerky, obviously, like when I say we like kill the T-Rex.
Yeah. So like it seems that like the rest of the pride seem to have like approached a little, so they can all hear what you're saying. It seems that like you can see there's a lot of talking among themselves, assuming that this facial twitching is talking. There's a lot of talking amongst themselves as you're telling your story. Just from passive insight, like it seems likely that they can understand you about to the same level as you can understand this male lion's writing, in that you can kind of get the gist of what you're saying. They can understand maybe 1 in 3 words, just because their branch of Imperial is just so far apart from yours, just so far apart from standard.
Yeah.
So they talk to each other. Do you want to make some kind of ability check here to see how clearly you can relate the story given the language barrier?
I don't, because I know I'm not very good at communicating. However, what I'm going to do when I see the others have approached a bit more is kind of wave over to Zitai and Garrick and Calidus and kind of beckon them to come closer. And basically shout, they're friendly enough that they are understanding me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll approach.
I'll explain that Garrick is the most senior among us. I'm basically leave you in charge of this now.
Okay. Yeah. Does he write anything back once Rory's kind of explained the story?
Well, is Rowie explaining the story, or is he Simon, or is he getting Garrick in to tell the story?
So I would have conveyed kind of the basics of how we got there, and then kind of beckon them across kind of thing, because that's after I started telling the story, that's when the others came closer, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So that's the point where I'd then beckon my friends kind of closer.
Sure. So I guess you got part way through. If you're finishing it off, Brad, can you perhaps give me that ability check to see how clear you're making this to them?
Yeah. Would a persuasion check work?
Yeah, it's fine.
Cool. Uh, 22.
22. Nice. So they listen to what you're saying. They talk back and forth for a few minutes. The male lion writes the word "wait" on the hide and shows it to you.
I'll nod an affirmative and sit down.
Sure. You know a couple of lions from this pride. They jog off in the direction of the village.
Okay.
Yeah, you can hear some growling and roaring from certain members of the pride. It seems like there's an argument happening.
Yeah. I guess they're just kind of deciding what to do, and not everyone's agreeing. I'll just keep an eye on the ones arguing, just to see which way it goes, either in our favour or not.
Yeah.
So, if the more aggressive ones are winning, then maybe we need to do something.
Yeah. So, this goes on for a few minutes, maybe up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They're having this conversation. You'd see a few of them kind of break off and just kind of sit, go over to the tree and sit in the shade. Those ones, they go in there in their packs, and they also get out these prosthetic hands. And the three of them that go up there, they take out some bone tools and start doing various bits of leather working, getting on with some stuff that they need to do. It seems that this the male lion that approached you seems to be an outlier in that he is very, very good at using this hand. These other ones by the tree, they're okay at it, They're okay at using it. Like they can like use the hands to use tools in an all right fashion. But it's all a bit clumsy, almost. Like but he was very very good at it. You think these ones, if they chose to write, they'd have a hard time. Like they'd have a hard time doing something as delicate as writing. Just because it seems that these mechanical hands there, while they are good enough to give a lion an opposable thumb, they are very difficult to use by the look of it. But yeah, and they kind of spread out. It seems that there's like a couple of factions in this pride that are having a discussion. How long would you guys wait before doing something on your own?
Well, it seems like they headed off to the village, right?
2 of them did, yeah.
So I guess however long it would take us to get to the village and back.
Yeah. So that probably, like, from here getting to the village and back at the jog that they're doing, you'd be looking at about an hour and a half there and back.
Yeah. I think maybe we sit down and see if we can. We can do stuff as well. I guess we could make some more arrows or such while we wait.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm happy with doing that.
Yeah. After about 20 minutes, one of the other 2 groups of lions that went ahead arrives. Like they come over the hill and start approaching as well. They're all kind of like, as they approach, they're all kind of like staring at you and having conversations with the group that was here that you were first speaking to. Then the 3rd group arrives about 5 minutes after that and joins in the discussion. There are some more arguments. There's also quite a lot of lions now. There's maybe like 20 of them total.
Well, we presume there to be at least 40 from the hunt with the kind of, what were they again?
Aurochs.
Yeah. So this isn't kind of too terrifying as such, but at least they're not herding us off a cliff.
I mean, there's a lot of them, and they are very, very big.
Yeah. Does this bronze washer look like it fit with these hands?
Possibly. Like, they do have some bronze fittings on them. But, like, it's difficult to say. Like, it does seem to be of the same technological school of thought, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, the male lion would approach you guys at some point. But the arguments are still raging. But he kind of like sit in front of you guys, and he would write on the piece of hide. He would write the words "running river," put it in front of him, and then use the hand to point to himself.
Okay. Yeah. I'll like point to myself and say Garrick.
Sure.
And then kind of look to the others to kind of introduce themselves to the lion.
I'll do so. Yeah, I'm Rawi Watana.
Zitai.
Okay. He'd take the hide back. He'd clean it off again. He'd write down like a longer message this time. It says you think, based on some context of the words, he's asking if any of you know magic.
I'll nod and say some.
The lion nods. It seems to do it consciously. Like it's not a natural movement that it would do. Like it seems to be adapting humanoid body language. Like it's deliberately doing humanoid body language at you. It goes into its bag again, and it pulls out this quite thick, like it's like a librum almost, a collection of bound strips of hide, and it kind of leafs through it, like looking at it. That's a spell book. This lion knows some magic by the look of it.
Oh, no. Okay.
So it kind of it kind of picked it up in its hand. He sits on its haunches, with its one mechanical hand reached into its bag, pulls out the matching other mechanical hand, puts that on, straps it closed. It seems that that's what the leather straps on their forearms are for, to engage with these mechanical hands, so that they can use tools.
So glad I didn't shoot him with a bloody arrow. Would have been fucked. We would not have known what happened if mine just started casting magic at us.
Fireballs the tree. We're doomed.
Yeah, he he goes through the spells, and he kind of sits down and starts copying one of them out again. It seems that he's got some quite elaborate stuff. He pulls out a particular bottle of ink that looks like it's made of jade. This bottle, and the quill that he's using is it's long and opalescent. You don't recognize what sort of creature it's from, but he's clearly copying out a spell scroll essentially. He copies it out, it's in it's in the language is obviously it's in the language of magic, but it's written in the imperial script, so you can understand it in theory. But then he takes him about half an hour, all told. But I guess it'd take him probably a bit longer, about an hour. So the sun's starting to set by the time he's finished copying this scroll out. But yeah, do you guys have anything you want to do in the interim while he's copying?
I'll just be watching it.
Yeah.
With amazement.
Yeah, this is amazing. We're seeing lions right. This is why we came to adventure.
Yeah, Zitai is caught between, oh my god, this is fascinating, and oh my god, we're surrounded. So rather than sitting like the rest are, he's sat more gargoyling, so that he could jump to the ready at a moment's notice.
Sure. So, Brad, are you paying particular attention to what he's doing?
Yeah, I'll attempt to keep track if I recognize the spell. I'm not trained in anything magical in that sense, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be a magical theory check if you wanted to try and figure out what the spell was as he's writing it.
Yeah, I'm not trained in it, but I can give it a roll.
Give it a roll. It's just a flat intelligence roll.
Yep. 7.
7. You're not sure. You're not sure what it is, but after about an hour, he finishes it and kind of he goes to he kind of on his elbows kind of walks forwards because he can't put his hands on the ground. It's and he passes this piece of tanned hide over to you that's packed very densely with this spidery script.
I'll just say thank you and go to take it.
Yeah. He just sits back down and looks at you.
Does it look like he's expecting me to use it?
Yeah.
I'll attempt to use it.
Yeah. So it is a divine spell. It's an arcane spell. It's on the sorcerer spell list, I believe. So you can use it.
What spell is it? Do I know it when I begin casting it?
Languages.
Perfect.
Really intelligent lions.
Yeah. I'll cast it. Yeah. It takes me just an action to cast it. I can cast this as a ritual. Would that burn the scroll?
Yeah, it would.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just cast the spell then.
Yeah. So yeah, like as you cast it, he also casts it. Not using a scroll, just he's a wizard. He is casting it as a ritual though. Clearly doesn't have it prepared. So he like as he like goes to cast the ritual, he kind of clears a small area of grass, and he draws a very elaborate magic circle using the forefinger of one of his mechanical hands. He would then take the he'd take a small rodent, say, and still alive, and bleed it out into the circle. And then recite various incantations. As he's reciting these incantations, he's reciting it in his language. He's not reciting it in like vocalizing it in the same way that you would, but you can see like he's moving his face and the mechanical hands as well in very, very complex, elaborate patterns that seem to be manifesting this spell. He is growling and he is growling quite loudly as well, so presumably that comes into it. But this is a particular method of spell casting that I think none of you have probably encountered before. But he finishes casting the spell about the same time you do. The piece of as you finish reading off the scroll, the ink that he used, it kind of turns to smoke as you read it, leaving just the piece of hide, almost as if nothing had happened. It's just got some ash on it from where the traces of ash on it from where the ink was. But he looks at you once he's finished, puts the spellbook away, and he doesn't speak in the sense that you expect him to. Like, he just makes his facial gestures at you, but you get the sense of what he's saying. Like, you understand him perfectly. He is confirming whether you understand him now.
Yes, I do. I'll hand back the piece of leather as well.
Yeah, he takes it and puts it away. He also takes the left mechanical hand off and puts that back in his bag as well, so he can kind of move around a little bit. You get the impression that he thinks that's good. He also asserts that you should he asks you if you can clarify which tribe you're from, because the others are deciding whether you're going to be a guest or a prisoner.
Okay. I will I'll reiterate that we are not from this planet or this. We are from space. Our ship crashed. Castaways, I guess, would be the best term.
So when you say, so he wants clarification on what you mean by space.
If you look up at the sky, space is the place beyond that, I'll say.
Okay. He asks you whether you're from the ancient empire.
No. Well, This is an awkward one to answer. Yes, but no. We're from planets that have been forgotten by the ancient empire, I guess. So our planets were once part of it, but are now no longer.
Okay, so he takes a while to respond. Then he says, how old is your civilization then? How old is your tribe?
I'll say, because the war in heaven 10,000 years ago, so our civilization would be older than 10,000 years. If I'm guessing correctly here.
Well, that's the thing. The both Ember and Foray, they were both almost eradicated by a weapon of mass destruction called a neutron sweep, designed to wipe out all life on the planet while leaving the infrastructure intact. In both cases, it did not wipe out all life on the planet. It failed. It just wiped out about 80% of it. Most of that being large-scale life. But peoples and the biosphere survived and came back over the next 10,000 years. But essentially, both civilizations have grown up over the last 10,000 years without any real concrete knowledge of the Empire existing at all, because 10,000 years is a really, really long time, especially because they would have had a massive population bottleneck at the point when the neutron sweep happened, when they were hit by this weapon. So just that knowledge has mostly been lost.
So, I'll say 10,000 years, then I think that's probably the best.
He frowns and says, he doesn't physically frown, but the spell is giving you the context that he is doing his equivalent of a frown. He says, "No, you can't be from the ancient empire then. Much too young."
I guess I'd ask, what's this planet's relationship with the ancient empire?
He says, "Good question."
Okay. I'll say our planets were originally belonging to this ancient empire before the majority of life of them were wiped out by a disaster, where our civilization had to begin again, which is why I say only 10,000 years.
This is consistent with recent omens, but very confusing. I will, regardless of whether you end up prisoner or guest, I think we will speak more.
Happily. You are only the second individual that we have met that somewhat communicates. I'll kind of point to little drummer boy.
He says, "Oh, why have you brought that? I assumed it was livestock."
They can somewhat communicate through rhythmic tapping, as you do with your facial expressions, and we do with our voices.
He says, "I don't know. I don't know. We don't really go down into the jungles much."
have you seen anything fall from the sky recently?
Yes, there have been several falling stars in the last days.
Can you? Would you be kind enough to point in the general direction of where they fell?
I'm afraid I didn't see them. I was asleep. Though I have been told of them by others who were awake.
I'm gonna push Garrick my backpack because it's got a crude map of where we crashed and the area.
Yeah. I'll show him this map and be like, "This is the best kind of sketch of this land we could make." We fell as one of these shooting stars around here. We are now about here. More of our people could have been in these shooting stars, and we need to find them.
I see. So you're definitely not of the ancient empire then, but you may be slavers.
I can tell you with 100% certainty that slaving is something that we will never dip to, never bring ourselves to do. It is something each of our planets have decided completely against. Some of our group have been enslaved before.
Can you give me a persuasion check?
Yep.
Come on, Brad.
That's a 15.
Okay. So he's very concerned about this, that you came down on the falling stars. But he says, I see. So it is clear then that you are from another plane. So I shall tell them this. And we will see what they do from there. Though I think it should be. It's something that I think you will be taken to the village, and the headman will decide what will be done with you. I think.
Okay. Does the is it a village of your species, or is it a village of a different kind?
He cocks his head and says, "Oh, yes, it's lions."
Okay, good. As long as
But there are others that live there too.
okay, that is good to hear. We noticed a number of tracks. I'll kind of point in the direction of the sledding tracks that headed towards the river. Were those members of your group as well?
Yes, we had a hunt. We had a hunt a season and a half ago.
Okay. It's just so I have everything right in my head, you see.
Yes. It is.
Yes.
It is. It's been a fruitful few seasons. Hopefully
That is
fruitful enough.
Yes, we would like to follow you to this to your village. It's where we were heading to begin with. We're just aiming to gather information to rescue our friends and hopefully go back home.
There are more of you.
From those falling stars, there will be groups of individuals hopefully landed. Some of them may have been killed upon landing. It was we didn't mean to come down to this planet. We crashed.
He nods slowly, like deliberately, Nods slowly. Yes, you did. Okay, well, I should go and speak to the others and tell them what I have learned.
Of course, we shall wait here, awaiting your response.
Yeah, he nods and trots off back to the main group.
Yeah, I'll fill everyone in, including little drone boy, who I hope can understand me now.
Well, it comprehend languages. Like he could already understand you. That's the thing. Like, well, he could always sort of understand you, but he cast comprehend languages anyway, just so he could fully understand you.
Yeah, but then I can
But
understand.
Drummer Boy doesn't have comprehend languages on him, so he can't understand you.
But
If
I'll
he
understand
say
him.
anything, you'd understand him, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
You'd
God
need
damn it.
tongues, I
Okay.
think, would be the one that you could speak
Yeah.
to him.
Yes, if he has a proper language, you could speak to him with tongues. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bit I'm going to pick up on is, didn't you say they hunted the Auroch over the cliff about a week ago?
I can't remember.
Like, Rory, didn't you say it was about that long?
I think so. It wasn't that long ago, no.
But Garrick has just said that it was a season and a half ago.
I
guess-
wonder how many seasons they have.
It could be fairly quick seasons, with it being 2 nights per a normal one of our days.
Their day length is 24 hours.
Yeah, but they have kind of a mini night in the middle, don't they?
Yes,
It's
but
siesta.
it's more of an eclipse, a daily eclipse, rather than a night.
Okay.
And it has got much warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know how harsh the winters here are, and we're likely to find out soon.
Yes. Hopefully we can gather some more information if this headman of their village helps us.
Is anyone good at watching the planets? Because I assume the winter will be when the planet kind of stays above us for a long time, so that it's like eternal night.
We could try and work it out, I guess, but I'm not the best at that sort of thing.
I'm not good at that.
I'm a mechanic, not an astrophysicist.
But it is something we might be able to just ask them, rather than having to attempt to work it out ourselves.
I don't like the idea of becoming a prisoner though. And not to say they'd eat us, but they might eat little drummer boy.
Yes. Well, they don't seem to go into the jungle much. And I at least told him that the drummer boy at least has some sort of language or communication ability. So hopefully they don't eat him or us. I'm not sure what their relationship is with the old empire yet, as he seemed to dodge the question, probably trying to give me little information so I'd answer truthfully and not to his favour.
Well, you said that he was worried that we would be slavers. I'm going to guess they're
Yes.
against that sort of thing, which means they'll be against the Empire. Which means if they see that we're being honest.
I was also thinking that maybe they see the Empire as it is now, as the slavers, and prior to
That's
that,
because they are.
when they had golems and things, as not slavers, so as the ancient empire.
Yes.
No, they were always slavers.
As far as we know.
Well, it could be that this planet could have been in the same situation as and have been neutron swept as well. It could have been on the, I guess, the losing side of the war in heaven.
We could ask them if they know what a golem is.
Of course, I'll relay that question.
We can have that conversation with the headman.
We'll just have to await their discussion and see what they decide.
As for proof that we're kind of from space, we could show them a blaster.
I think perhaps not showing them our weapons would be good. If we have anything else, maybe just a mana crystal.
We did find some extra mana crystals, didn't we? We could show them.
A shield belt, perhaps? That would probably be easier. A defensive tool rather than a weapon.
I still think we wait for the show and tell until we see the headman.
Yes, and gauge what their responses will be.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just worried about being in a cell before we get to speak to this person.
I will do my best to sway them from that decision.
Oh.
They said they want to take us to the village. Put in a cell, we can't go anywhere.
The cell would probably be in the village. But they were deciding whether we are to be taken as prisoners or not, I guess. Or guests, I believe they called it.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So after you've had that conversation, the lion called Running River, he returns. He says, "Okay. So I think you're prisoners, but only just."
Okay, and what does that mean for us?
It means that they're going to take you with them. You'll be given some food tonight, and then you'll be put up in a home tonight. You'll speak to the headman tomorrow, I would guess, and then he will decide what to do with you, and whether your story is true.
Okay, and if we agree to come peacefully and without issue, which we will, nothing is nothing going to be taken from us? Are we good to go as we are?
I don't think they don't feel threatened by you at the moment, so I don't think they'll take anything.
That is good to hear. I guess if you can ask them to lead the way, we will happily follow. Or I guess stay with you.
Yes, I'll go and tell them. We'll need to. So he goes back, and he doesn't. It seems like they don't let him approach you anymore. Like he gets muscled out to the side, to the edges of the group. They're quite rough with him by the look of it. As they shove him out to the edges of the group. But the lionesses that make up the rest of the group, they kind of crowd around you guys and start moving you on. You've still got about half an hour of the comprehend languages left, so you can understand what they're saying now. If you would be interested in listening in.
Yeah. I'll listen into as much as I can get.
Yeah. I mean, give me a perception check. See if you get any snippets of information. Because there's a lot of them around you. It's kind of difficult to pull out particular conversations.
Yeah, I got a 4.
4, yeah. So it's like about half of the conversation is about you guys. About half of the conversation is about just like general inane stuff, like just stuff that's happening in town. In people's personal lives, stuff like that. Just not very interesting in general. The ones that are talking about you seem to be trying to decide whether you're from the island people or whether you're from the South Island people, like the other island people. It doesn't translate very well. It seems that their language is very literal. They have there seems to be at least another two groups that they're trying to decide whether you're members of, like the island people and the other island people. They they decide you can't be from the tree people and you can't be from the mountain people, so you must be from either the island people or one of the other island people. And you're definitely not swamp people. But it seems that most of them aren't really crediting the fact that you're from space, that's like you won't mention one of them. Just like it's just running river telling tall tales again. Like you just can't take the guy seriously.
Okay. And we know they can kind of understand us, right?
Yes, if you speak in High Imperial, they can pick up bits here and there.
Okay. I'll just attempt to speak to one of the nearer ones. And be like, I hear there are more. Are there any more people that look like us on this in this land that at all?
The one that's running next to you, she says. She looks to the one next to her and she says, "I think it's trying to speak to me."
Yep, fair. Yeah, I'll like keep attempting stuff like that. And I guess if I keep getting rebutted, like I'll just wait until the end of it. As long as it looks like I'm making an effort, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, like you are able to like strike up conversations with some of them. Like they're not all as like hostile as that particular one. You're able to gather that like there are humanoid, like there are lots, there are lots of humanoids on the planet, or at least that they know of. There are quite a few that live in the village. So the fact that you are humanoids isn't it isn't surprising to them. Like you don't look like your clothes look weird, and like they don't recognize your ethnicities. But like you're one of them. You're human adjacent. Like it's a normal thing.
Yeah. I'm basically aiming here for. There are probably people we can properly speak to here, rather than having to cast spells to understand. That's
Possibly.
my aim here. Hopefully,
Yeah.
anyway.
Possibly. I mean, it's like the thing is, these lions, they don't speak the language that you're speaking. They understand it, but they don't speak it.
Yeah.
So the language they understand is presumably spoken by somebody else.
Yep. So we can hope.
We can indeed.
Yeah.
Headman's going to be a lizard. I'm calling.
Yeah.
Like,
once they come for
not lizard folk. Like
Yeah.
an actual lizard.
Oh no.
What's this? Sorry.
I'm calling it. Headman's going to be a lizard.
Could just be a dragon, low gravity, perfect place for a dragon. And it is getting warm.
Yeah, the moment you say that, Zitai's face just drops. He looks like flashbacks. Thanks to the mushroom trip.
Yep.
That would make sense that,
Yeah,
they're
it
ancient
would.
and they would know the ancient empire.
Yeah, it would, and I've never hoped for you to be more wrong in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dragon-like creatures on my planet aren't very friendly.
I guess as we're going, I'll kind of just explain that we are technically prisoners. But it seems like their definition of prisoner is quite loose, as we're not bound or tied. and they're going to put us up in a house and feed us.
That is very hospitable. Maybe it's prisoner in the terms of you have to come with us, rather than you get a choice.
Yes.
Guests under guard.
I,
Yeah.
I like these people. They remind me of home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they seem to be quite interesting.
great. So the group of you head on at a brisk walking pace with the Pride of Lions towards what appears to be their village. As you enter it, it's quite large. The buildings seem to be reasonably permanent. They're mostly made of a sort of light-colored wood. The buildings themselves are they seem to be reasonably well crafted. They're made of wooden beams and planks that seem to be lashed together with some kind of hard wearing plant fiber that has some sort of adhesive or glue soaked into the fibers, so it's gone very, very hard. And the gaps between the beams have been filled in with some kind of resin. The roofing material, it's some sort of thatch. They're thatched roofs, but it's a bit different to thatch you've seen in the past. There's quite large leaves, large round leaves. They look like lily pads almost. Maybe a good 2 feet across. These very thick leaves that they're making the thatch out of. But as you move into the town, it's just after sunset, so it's reasonably active still. There's still people moving around and doing stuff, but it's not like the height of the day's activity. Having said that, you can see, based on what you can see coming into the village, there might be up to maybe 5,000 or 6,000 individuals that live here. It's a reasonably substantial small town, large village. It seems that the female lions outnumber the male ones probably about 20 to 1. There really aren't many male lions in the village. So it seems likely that what wild lions do on Ember, they do here to a certain extent. You also see that there are other humanoids here. Really not many, maybe 1 to every 200 or so lions you see. But they're just living in among them, just in normal capacities. You can see those that you see do tend to be working, and when they're working, it seems that the jobs they have are very, very intricate jobs that require a great deal of manual dexterity. The sort of jobs that the lions would struggle to do on their own. You can see a couple of humans, for example, sitting down at a table, tinkering, building and maintaining and repairing these mechanical hands that the lions have. And there are humans. There's a number of humans building a new building, for example. So there's the humanoids that you can see here. They're they have kind of olive skin, kind of Mediterranean looking, kind of light brown flaxy sort of hair. They wear it in braids. These people, the clothing that they're wearing is animal leather and fur by the look of it, though they're not wearing a great deal of it in this sort of temperature. It's mostly just a very, very light sleeveless tunic and shorts. That's the sort of thing they're wearing. We just fur as the trim. It's not insulating at all. It's just there to look nice. they also, on their right ears, all of the humans, they have these quite large, elaborate earrings. They seem to be made of like pearls and jade mostly. Species wise, they do seem to be human or something very very close. They might not be exactly precisely human standard, but they're pretty close. At least they appear to be. You guys are led to a small building in the center of town, and kind of ushered inside. The lion that was leading the group, she kind of growls at you, and kind of like gestures aggressively with her head that you go in and you stay in. You don't need to know the language to understand her meaning here.
Makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do as I'm told.
Yeah.
Was the door like human size or lion size?
Human sized. Though it is kind of wide. To be honest, there isn't that much difference between a human-sized door and a lion-sized door here. The handles of the doors are kind of low, lower than would be normal on a humanoid settlement, but you can still reach them and use them. And there are no door knobs here. There are door levers. Just so that, like, if it was just a doorknob you'd have to grip and turn, then they'd have to, go through the whole faff and rigmarole of getting, like, the mechanical hand out, putting it on, turning it, like, putting it away. Like, it's easier just to have a lever.
To make all the doors cat flaps instead.
Oh.
Yeah. These cats have figured out how to open doors. And with the mechanical hands, they can open tins of tuna.
Oh no.
They have no need for you anymore.
Which is why they're in charge.
But yeah, the interior of this building, it's only one story. It's not a 2-story building. None of them are, by the look of it. It seems to be like it's more well appointed than anywhere you've slept so far on this planet. But it seems that you've got some very crude straw mattresses. There's like 9 or 10 of them kind of piled up on one side. There's a table, kind of rickety looking, but functional, with some chairs. There aren't any windows, so it's kind of dark in here. Though there is a fire pit in the middle of the building, and a large vent up near the roof for the smoke to go out of. Yeah, and the door like slams shut behind you, and you're left in this building. I should note that the building's about 45 feet in diameter and circular.
I'll turn around to Garrick and go, did you happen to mention the bite on my ankle?
Oh, no, I didn't mention the botflies. They did say that they didn't venture into the forest or jungle. So I didn't think of it.
Well, I was just thinking if they're this advanced, they might have medical staff.
That is true. I will happily mention it to the headman, if you'd like.
That'd be great. It's not causing me discomfort yet, but we saw the corpse of that animal that was eating from the inside.
Yes, I suppose that's something I could do now. I could check over all the wounds again, just in case. I'll cast light, so we have enough light to see by properly in here.
Yeah.
I'll get a fire going. As you're checking it out.
Sure. Yeah, you're easily able to get a fire going. After about half an hour, there's a knock on the door, just as you're getting settled down to examine the wounds.
The tile go over. He doesn't need his wounds sorting. They've been cauterized fully.
Yeah. So there's a as As you go to the door, like it is locked. You can't open it. It's locked from the outside.
Right, I'll just, okay.
Yeah, the like you see the handle like go down and the door opens. You can see there's a humanoid, a human there. He looks reasonably youngish, maybe like 35 or so. He's carrying he's carrying a large sack on his back. He says, "Food."
Please.
Yes.
He nods and kind of takes the sack and offers it to you. It's a reasonably large sack, maybe weighs.
Yes, I'll take it.
It weighs 3 or 4, 4 or 5 kilograms, maybe. He says, "You need anything, you tell."
Yes, I'll knock on door loud to get attention.
He nods, and then closes the door. And you hear it lock.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion, guys, that dialect is going to be a problem here as well.
But as long as we
And then
speak
just
very
bring the
loud
food
and
over.
slow.
Yeah, that's how it works, right? That's how it works.
Definitely. I'm gonna have a look in this sack of food, see what there is.
Yeah. So looking in the sack, it seems to be mostly assorted fruit. There are oranges and mangoes in here, as well as various other sorts of fruit that you don't quite recognize. As well as several, there are 4 big chunks of wrapped in a kind of greasy paper. Large chunks of what appears to be meat.
I'm just gonna be looking at this hoard of food going, we're not gonna have to have our pills for a while. Yeah.
Well, we've got dinner and breakfast. We'll see about after that once we've had the chat with the headman.
Perhaps we could ask for some medical supplies for your wound now. We'll see how hospitable they are.
That would be good. I didn't want to be in imposition and mention it myself.
Well, no harm in asking, unless there is. Yeah, I'll just go over and knock on the door.
Yeah. The door opens. The same guy's there. He says, "Yes."
One of our friends was injured before we came here. Could you spare some medicine or healing materials?
Okay. He shuts the door.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he said okay, so we'll see what happens next.
Okay. I'll basically roll my pants up and such. Get ready for medical supplies.
Yeah. So does anybody else have anything they want to interact with before we finish?
Zitai is going to enjoy. Zitai's just going to enjoy a good meal and then go to bed. Don't have to worry about a watch. It's great.
Yeah, you're being watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should note the meat, by the way, is completely raw.
We've got a fire going.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rowie.
Yeah. It seems that was the intention. Or you'd eat it raw like the lions. But yeah, I think, as Zitai heads to bed in a objectively shitty mattress, but objectively extremely better than anything you've had so far. I think we'll leave the session. The medicine and the conversation with the headman of the tribe, of the village, will come next week, I think. So, thank you all for coming, those of you that have shared this adventure with us today. we've been the 5e Frontier. We'll be back same time next week, 7:30 UK time on a Monday. Hopefully we'll see you all there again. Until then, we've been the 5e Frontier, and it's been a pleasure to have you all.
Bye.